let's go to the phone and talk to the former UFC bantamweight champion. Talked to him a couple of months ago, but now there's some new stuff to talk to him about, so let's get right to him. TJ Dillashaw on the line right now. TJ, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining us. By the way, congrats to the team. Your guy, Neil Magny, with a huge win. Did you see that on Saturday?
I did, man. That was amazing. It was a crazy fight, scary fight. Having him go against Hector Lombard. I mean, Hector Lombard's probably one of the scariest fighters there is in the UFC, and obviously nervous for the fight for him. But he's a tough guy. He comes in shape, and he looked awesome. He looked good.
Is he like that in the gym? Like, I kind of feel like he's not human at this point. The guy takes so much damage, and it almost seems to help. And we've heard this before from other fighters, but he seems to thrive in those situations. Does he give that off in the gym as well?
I guess so. I mean, we need to get him to stop starting a little bit slow and making it a closer fight.
Yeah.
I mean, he is super tough. And I think it also helps that he's in such good shape that he's got a good chin too. He's just got the determination behind him, and once you get that, it's kind of endless of how far you're willing to push. I mean, the guy goes harder than anybody in the gym for. He's always working. He won't take any time off. He needs to take a little bit of time after this fight, but
yeah.
He never does.
What about that second round? They let it go. Steve Percival, the referee. How disgusting! I mean, that was disgusting stuff. To let a fight go. I mean, Hector Lombard. That's a disservice to him, right? Did you see that? How many punches he took on the ground?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely way too long, but you kind of almost had to let it go that long because how long you let it go in the first round as well, because that was very close to being stopped as well. I was very nervous the entire time that the ref was going to step in and stop the fight the entire time in the first round. He didn't. He definitely let it go way too long in the second round, so that ref definitely likes to see people get beat up, I think, or something.
Yeah, and he continues to make mistakes. Every time the UFC goes to Australia, he's involved in some kind of controversy. Anyhow, I digress. By the way, how would you feel? You're in Colorado now, right?
Yes.
How would you describe your time? Like, are you comfortable? Are you settled in? Do you have a place? Do you feel like it's home? How do you feel about it all? Because I know it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been much time at all. I've actually been back in California for the last month and a half, too.
Oh.
I've been up there selling my house in California, started a few businesses that I'm excited about that I've been working on nonstop, and healing from a few injuries. So I haven't even had a chance to adjust, made the drive back out here, moved all my stuff from Sacramento. So I haven't had a chance since my fight to really hang out in Colorado to get used to it again. But yeah, I mean, I love it out here, man. I mean, I couldn't ask for any more with my training. Obviously, that's why I'm here. But then also just the beautiful scenery of Colorado and just the people I know out here, and it's been an easy changeover for me.
So the last time we spoke to you was right after the Cruz fight, and you were talking about why you deserved another crack at the belt. I'm curious, how did you find out that you weren't getting the title shot and that Urijah was getting it?
I found it on social media. I was heading to the Arnold Classic in Ohio to sign autographs for Muscle Farm, and I landed in my layover in Houston, and I found out just from getting my phone getting blown up that Urijah got the shot they were at the press conference, and I think that was the most disappointing part, was how I had to find out, because I went and had a meeting with Sean and Lorenzo, and they were entertaining the fact, and said that I thought I won the fight, and that it was a great fight, loved me as a champion, and that they'll keep me informed to let me know in a couple of weeks what they're doing and how they make up their mind. And I unfortunately didn't get that call. I had to find out just like everyone else did, and I found out on social media.
So that meeting, is that something that you asked for? Did they ask you to come in to talk about it? How did it go down? I
asked for it. I was going to be in town. I was being a guest coach on The Ultimate Fighter, and I asked to come in when I was in town to talk about him, because I heard a lot of talk going back and forth of maybe Faber getting the fight, and I just thought that was real ridiculous. I didn't think didn't think he should get it over me, so I wanted to go and voice my opinion about it and kind of sit face to face instead of just going through my management and tell my management to talk to them. I felt like it meant a little bit more if I went in there myself. So you had no backup. It was just you and Lorenzo and Sean.
Yeah, just me.
Just me.
How long was it?
I don't know. It was probably like a good half hour, 45 minutes of sitting there talking a little bit. Maybe longer. I don't really know.
And when you left, did you feel, all right, I did a good job? I got this?
Oh, I felt like I did a good job. I wouldn't say that I was super confident about getting the fight, because you never know. Those guys always kind of have their own agenda. I felt confident. I knew that they liked me as a champion, and I knew that they felt that they respected me as a fighter for their company. And I felt good that way. I wasn't 100% positive that I'd get the fight, but that I definitely put a good effort out there, and they were definitely interested in entertaining the fact of me getting it.
What was your reaction when you saw that news that it wasn't going to you, and you're finding out via social media?
Oh, I'm real disappointed, man. You want to say, at first I was really angry, and then just it kind of hits you just disappointment. I not only that I thought I did enough to win the fight and to continue to be the champion, but the fact that I'm just not getting a shot to prove a very close fight, to prove that I won that fight. And, there's a bunch of rematches going on right now that weren't close, that they were finishes. And now they're making them a rematch. Like this talk of Conor McGregor Diaz 2, like that's kind of ridiculous. It's becoming a sideshow. Like this Conor gets to kind of do whatever he wants. He's choosing the fights he wants. He's just, it's just the entertainment business. I guess I got to get more into that instead of just worrying about being an entertaining fighter in the cage. I guess got to be a little more colorful to get what you want around here.
So it's the fight. Like, can you even come up with any theory as to why, like, Weidman's getting a rematch, as you mentioned, Conor, and we've seen so many rematches. Kane, it didn't happen, but he was going to get the rematch against Verdum. Why do you think that they're willing to give it to them and not to you?
I really don't know. That's a question that's been mind-boggling lately for me. I don't really understand. With Weidman getting the shot, maybe with Yoel Romero, testing positive, I think he was going to be the next shot. Conor gets to make all his own decisions, so that one makes sense. The guy brings in a lot of money, so he's the one that runs his own career. I really don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like I'm an entertaining fighter. I feel like I always put on a show when I'm there. I haven't really been in any kind of boring fights. I really don't know. Maybe the only thing I can think of is that they want to have Faber get another title shot. He's got a big following behind him. He's got a lot of fans, and they can't give him someone else and expect him to win because he hasn't looked that great to be able to continue to push for a title. I think this is his shot. This is kind of like his last hurrah in my mind of being able to get a title shot, and they can't trust giving him someone else that's down the ladder because he might not win that fight. I'm not saying that if I wasn't the one getting the title shot, it makes sense. Like if I didn't deserve it, if I would have got finished, or if there's no way that I was even in a close fight and I got beat by Cruz, and I can understand giving that fight to Faber. He could be the next in line for that. But I just feel that I'm a little bit more deserving of it. That fight I had with Cruz was super close.
Does it sting a little more because it's Urijah and your relationship? Like if it was, I don't know, a Sun Tzu or Sterling, would it be easier to digest?
I guess it'd only be easier to digest because they've actually looked pretty good in their last couple of fights. But no, I'm happy for. I gotta be happy for you. I have a friend of the guy, and it's a cool story. What if he goes out and beats Cruz? Then he finally gets to get his belt. This is like his 8th title shot or something like that, and it'd be a cool way for him to somewhat kind of finish his career in the UFC. So I am going to root for him against Cruz. I like Faber more, even all this drama that's going on and all this bull crap that's, I think, a little blown out of water that's going on between me and him. I still hope he wins the fight.
Wow.
I like him a lot more than I like Cruz. Cruz is just not very respectful and kind of a dick.
Well, I certainly respect that stance, despite everything. So you'll be rooting. You think that? Do you also feel like you have a better chance of getting the shot, and it's a bigger fight if he wins? Because you have to be, and we'll get to what's next in a second. You versus Urijah, if he wins, you'd have to be right there. You'd get that next shot, right? You would think, right?
I'd imagine I'm going to be next for whoever wins. Either if I have to fight to do it, or either if I'm just going to get the next shot after whoever wins that one. I'm not really sure. I feel like I should be next in line no matter what. But yeah, that would be huge.
So what did you do? So you find out. Do you then call the UFC and say, "Hey guys, what's going on?" Do you call your man? Like, what's your next plan? What did you do after that? After finding out the news?
After finding out the news, I continued. I was a little mad about it, so I just continued to work on the businesses that I've started. I teamed up with a nutritionist perfecting athletes, and we're starting our own nutritional guideline and plans, and we're kind of going back to these wrestling tournaments and doing seminars there and showing my face at the California Wrestling events. Like this weekend coming up, I'm heading out to Fresno to go to a kids folk style state tournament and give a seminar to all the coaches and parents and athletes on the ways to eat right for competition and how to cut weight and feel great kind of deal. to knock down all the myths about cutting weight in our sport. And so that's been pretty cool to get involved that way and kind of branch out a little bit, not only have to try to get paid by fighting, work on some other stuff. And then I'm starting a woodworking company with my brother-in-law and some friends back home in my hometown. So I've been keeping myself busy, and I'm healing up with some injuries still. My hand from being fractured from the fight and my foot, they're just getting healed up, but I haven't been able to train since my fight at all. I came in a little bit to train with Joanna because she came out to check out the gym and check out Elevation Fight Team. So I came in and wrestled around with her and stuff just to show what the gym's like when everyone's there. So, making those sacrifices to come in and to prove our gym is good. But other than that, I haven't worked out since the fight.
So you fractured your hand in the fight?
Yeah, it's a pretty slight fracture. It's like a chip off a bone in my hand. I think I injured it like 2 weeks before the fight. I hurt it in sparring. It was really sore, and then I re-injured it again. Just got a little bit worse in the fight. And I didn't realize it was fractured until a couple weeks after my hand continued to hurt. So I got it X-rayed and an MRI on it and found out. So it's a little chip in like the metatarsal bones in my hands that should heal up fine. It's just got a little arthritis and stuff in there right now. My foot, though, I know I broke that in like the fourth or fifth round of the fight. I felt it got super swollen. I kicked him in the head and my foot exploded after that.
Do you need surgery?
What's that?
Do you need surgery?
No. It's again, these are both small fractures. They're both just going to heal on their own. I haven't been wearing a cast or a boot, so it's just a little bit of time off.
So have they talked to you about what they want to do with you next? Are you going to wait for the winner of that fight? Are you going to fight someone else, number one contender fight? What do you think happens? I'm
not really sure. I'll probably fight someone. I don't want to wait too long. I'm not one of those guys that stays inactive. I mean, I don't want to take a fight until I'm healthy. It's hard for the UFC to call me and to ask me to take a fight, and I'm not even in the gym training yet. It's hard for me to say yes. Even if I might be healthy, who knows? But I want to get back in the gym. I want to get healthy. I want to get back to working out, and then obviously agree to taking a fight. If they want me to wait for the winner of that fight, I will. But if they're going to give me a fight, I'll take that as well.
Is it important to fight around the title fight? Because as you know, a lot of times it's timing, right? Right. So you want to be, or if someone gets injured.
Be in shape. So I feel like there's really high odds for someone getting hurt in this fight. One of them's very fragile and's always hurt. Can never stay healthy, and then the other one's 37 years old. So I'm giving myself high chances that someone's going to get hurt in this fight. So I'm going to definitely be in shape and be ready. I just told my coaches the other day that I got to get back in the gym and almost act like I'm in training camp so that I can be ready for that.
Okay, so you're going to be preparing for June 4th. That's I think that's a smart move on your part. Always be ready. Did you watch that press conference when they were going back and forth, the Unstoppable one a couple of weeks ago?
Unfortunately, I missed it. I was actually not unfortunately. I probably wouldn't have watched it either. But I was I was in Ohio signing autographs at the making an appearance at the Arnold Classic for Muscle Farm.
Did you happen to hear some of the things that Urijah was saying about USADA testing for? I think he said puberty, or that that it was talking about your body, the way you looked in the fight. Did you hear any of that stuff?
No, I didn't. I think I saw some tweets about it or something.
Yeah.
No.
What do you make of that?
What did he say?
Well, I wish I could pull it up here.
That was pretty much it. Did he say they tested me for puberty?
Well, he was insinuating that both of you looked a lot different, physically. And of course, this is the new USADA era. I mean, he wasn't really masking his comments here. He was saying that you look like a young boy, that things had changed. You didn't have that muscle definition and things like that. I mean, pretty. I thought pretty clear in what he was trying to say. And I was wondering if you had any comments on that, because that's a pretty serious accusation.
That is, and that's complete bullshit. That's actually, I didn't realize it was that serious. No, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe he's saying I look like a young boy because he's wishing he was that young. He's an old dinosaur in there, but no, I'm gonna have to go back and check that out. But that's complete bullshit. I think he's just trying to, like I said in a couple of my other interviews, is stay relevant. He's got to make up some stories and do what he's got to do to be inside the media's limelight. I mean, I feel like he wouldn't even be relevant in the last year and a half if it wasn't for me fighting and leaving the team. I mean, that's kind of been him talking shit about me has been his way to be able to stay in the limelight. I feel like him bringing me on Ultimate Fighter was a trap. It was like a way for him and Connor to bash on me for moving out to a different gym. I feel like him just bashing on me is a way of staying relevant and something to talk about, so the media has something to write about other than his horrible fights.
And yet you're rooting for him in June.
I am. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't stay up to date on all the shit talk. I guess. I
Okay.
didn't realize he was bashing me like that.
Wow.
I don't know, man. I don't. This is very uncharacteristic of him. I didn't ever see him being like this. Especially to ruin a friendship over me liking a coach. I mean, guys cross train all the time. I mean, that's what Alpha Male's known for. They have open doors to let guys come in and out and train. I mean, they don't call any of those guys traitors and talk shit about them. They got guys coming in and out all the time. I mean, for instance, Andre Feely trained at our rival gym in Sacramento. One of our guys beat him for a local belt inside Sacramento. After he lost his belt, he started training with Team Alpha Male. No one gave him shit for not only switching teams, but switching against a rival team against Alpha Male inside of Sacramento. You got Cody Garbrandt leaving his boxing trainer, which is actually his uncle from Ohio, to come out and train at Alpha Male to become successful. He's leaving family behind, and they're just such hypocrites. It's kind of ridiculous. So, I mean, I guess I have a little bit of anger behind it, but I was friends with the guys. I loved them. I had a great time. I left the gym in tears, man. When I got kicked out, it was a very sad day for me to leave that gym, and so I left the gym in tears that day. And so I still have love for all the guys that were there, and I'm gonna even though if he's still talking shit, I'm gonna be true to myself, and I'd rather have him win than Cruz.
Okay, if they're both healthy, who do you think wins?
Cruz.
Cruz wins?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think Cruz is just a little bit too athletic for Faber. Faber's pretty flat-footed and just relies on a couple techniques. If you ever watch his fights, the only way he's going to finish them is with an overhand right or a choke. I mean, it's kind of crazy that more people haven't really caught on to the way he fights. I mean, he's got two weapons. That's pretty much it. I mean, you go out there with your left hand high, and you're not going to lose to Urijah. He's got no power or anything else.
You mentioned Joanna coming to Elevation. It seems like she's bouncing around. She's maybe looking for a team.
Yeah, she's smart, man. She's checking out all the gyms.
Yeah.
Checking out all the big thing is I think she wants to move to the United States. Traveling from her home country and being over there is just really hard on her career. She's having to come to the States all the time for promotional things and obviously her fights and whatnot. So it's hard to live overseas and be here. So she's moving to the States and she's checking out the gyms that she believes are a good fit for her. She came out to here. She went out to Albuquerque for Jackson's. I believe she was in Southern California at Kings, but I'm not 100% on that.
Yep.
So
I heard she really liked it.
Man.
I heard she really liked it over in Colorado with you guys. What was it like training with? I mean, did you actually? I know she's a little smaller than you, but I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's a lot of women her size. So who was she working with?
No, and it sounds like she doesn't really like to work out with the women. She likes to hold herself to a higher standard. She likes getting beat up by the guys. We tried setting her up with some girls out here to spar with and start to work out with while she was out here, but she's more interested in rolling around and wrestling with me and working out with some of the guys and talking about how she likes fun with the guys more so. And I'm a big fan of her. I love her fighting style. She's a great striker, real good fighter, entertaining, and as a person too. So I hope she joins the team because I think it'd be a great addition to the Elevation Fight Team.
Final thing, if you do fight before they have the title fight on June 4th, who makes sense? Obviously, there's the Asuncao fight out there. He has that split decision win.
I feel like that probably makes the most sense.
You want it?
He's on a supposedly a 7-fight win streak that I also beat him in Brazil. So that one makes sense. I'd love to get that fight back as well. So
you'd be down to fight. You're not gonna sit around. You'd be down to fight him. I would imagine that's a number one contender fight, right?
Yes, I would imagine so. I mean, I'm down to wait for the fight between Faber and Cruz. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if that's what the UFC will do with me, then I will. I mean, those are big fights. I want my belt back. I feel like it's important for me to defend my belt as many times as I can. I'm obviously going to get paid more when I'm a champion to fight. So
right.
it makes sense for me to push for that belt more than anything, But if that's not going to be the case, then I mean, obviously I'm going to fight. I mean, that's what I do. I mean, that's the only way I get paid right now, other than me starting these other companies I'm getting involved in.
Are you hoping to sit down with the UFC to clear the air on how this whole thing was handled? Are you over it at this point? How would you describe your relationship with them now?
I mean, you hear it time and time again that they kind of do this stuff too. So I mean, it's. They run their business crazy, I mean, it's cutthroat. You just kind of got to expect it. Maybe I got to be a little more entertaining and draw in some bigger numbers. That's where you get the power. Like I said, Conor runs his own career. He gets to make his own choices. I I don't know, man. Even though I don't want to be that person, it's kind of crazy. You know, you got to be more fake and more ridiculous in the sport to get what you want.
All right. Well, I wish you the best, man. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for, clearing the air and speaking so honestly. Always a pleasure, and I hope you heal up quickly. Looking forward to seeing you back in there.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, there he is, TJ Dillashaw, stopping by. Very honest stuff. You gotta respect where he's coming from, right? I mean, this is a guy who's had a relationship with Urijah Faber for many years, and still goes out of his way to credit him as far as his early MMA days are concerned, and the back and forth, the bad blood, and still says he'll be rooting for him. And I'm sure part of that is a business decision. I mean, could you imagine if Urijah wins the belt in June, and I know they have that new arena in Sacramento coming. You go to that arena. They haven't been to Sacramento since UFC 177, the ill-fated pay-per-view show. Remember, it was supposed to be Renan Barão. Another guy who got a fight last week, Renan Barão versus Jeremy Stephens at 145 on the May 29th show. But anyway, Renan Barão just hasn't been the same. It's amazing. Good that he took some time off. I'm happy to see that. But if they went to that new arena next year or later this year with Urijah Faber as champion against TJ Dillashaw, I'm guessing that's going to sell out pretty quickly. I'm guessing that's going to do pretty well on pay-per-view and the gate, especially that new arena over there. They have some wacky name. Golden Capital or something, Golden Capital Bank, something like that. The Sacramento arena, the new one that they're building downtown. Sacramento Kings beating my Knicks yesterday. What a depressing time it is for the New York Knickerbocker franchise. But alas, that's a different problem for a different day. It appears as though Bobby Green throwing a wrench in our plans. New York Rick trying to locate Bobby Green, who it was reported around this time last week he'll be fighting Dustin Poirier, UFC 199, that card in Los Angeles. We haven't heard from Bobby Green in quite some time. Remember, he was supposed to fight Ally Quinta last summer. He was on this show with his whole crew, Darian Caldwell included, before he became this kind of, I'm not gonna call him a household name, but a much more popular fighter and known fighter in the world of MMA. He was there too. Remember, there was like 5 or 6 guys, and then like a week later, he pulled out due to an injury. And then it was going to be Ally Quinta versus Gilbert Melendez, and Gilbert got popped. We haven't seen or heard much from him since, other than the ESPN stuff, but still never got that explanation as to what happened there. So trying to locate Mr. Bobby Green. After that, we'll be talking to Holly Holm. Speaking of UFC 200, a couple of other fights were reported last week for UFC 200. Derek Brunson versus Gegard Mousasi. My understanding is, I like that fight for Derek Brunson. That's a huge step up for him, and that's a fight that makes a ton of sense if he wants to climb the ladder. I like it very much. My understanding, at least as of right now, is that one's going to be pretty low on the card. Like, they're going to make every single fight on this UFC 200 card a relevant fight involving very big names, or big names. Big to very big. Big to very big to huge names. That's my understanding. So you got Derek Brunson versus Gegard Mousasi, and then you also have Cain Velasquez versus Travis Browne. Now, I can see that being on the main card, perhaps a little lower down. If they want to get crazy, put it on the FS1 prelims. But I like that fight as well. It gets Cain back on track. It keeps him active. It's a huge step up for Travis Browne. I would imagine, considering what is going on here, that's not going to work either, New York Rick. I would imagine, given what's happened lately with Travis, that Cain is going to be a big favorite. So those are 2 fights, and then you consider the Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor rematch, which is still the plan as of right now, 1:51 p.m. Eastern time on Monday. And I still wonder what they're going to do with some of those other fights and champions and other names. Interesting times. It's very interesting. And they still have a little bit of time. Tickets aren't going on sale or anything like that, but I'm definitely. And then the New York thing comes into play, and I touched on it briefly with Sean. The New York thing is very interesting now, and I wonder if it's working against Frankie. In case you don't know, there are some people who just don't understand the New York thing, and I'll try to break it down as easily as possible. In order for, I feel like we've talked about this before, but might as well go through it rather quickly here while we have some time. In order for a bill to become legalized in the great state of New York, the Empire State, the progressive state that is New York, it has to pass through the Senate and all its different channels, and then it has to pass through the Assembly and all its different channels. Once it passes through the Senate and then the Assembly, now we've got a bill that is actually in play, a legalized bill, essentially. Well, for the last 7 years, the bill to legalize mixed martial arts has blown through the Senate. It's been pretty unanimous, and people have gone confused. Like, okay, they would celebrate this, and then it's not legal, and it would just be very confusing. Well, it's blown through the Senate with no problem. The issue has always been that the Assembly refuses, for various reasons, to bring it up for a vote. And of course, you've heard the UFC brass talk about this. You've seen other people talk about this. The main issue is that the Culinary Union and the owners of these station casinos, which happen to be the Fertitta brothers, have been engaged in this battle in Nevada. The Nevada Culinary Union, I should be more exact. They've been engaged in this war, this battle in Nevada to unionize the station casinos. This chain of casinos, popular casinos in Nevada. Well, they've been unsuccessful in doing so, and the parent company of the Nevada Culinary Union is this group called Unite Here, and they are based in New York. That's the parent union, the parent company of the Culinary Union. Excuse me, they are based in New York, and they are very powerful. And they have a lot of influence and obviously, like I said, a lot of power. And they were very influential with Sheldon Silver, who was the Assembly Speaker up until early last year. And as you may have heard, he got in a lot of trouble. He was arrested. He was taken out of power. And so when that happens in January, a lot of people thought it was gonna pass through, but there wasn't enough time for it to pass through. And now the guy who replaced the Assemblyman Sheldon Silver was a very friendly to MMA speaker, and things were happening a lot quicker. So in short, it has passed through the Senate once again. They expect it to go through the Assembly and all its channels tomorrow, potentially, and they think by this week, MMA is going to be legalized in New York. A lot of the Zuffa officials will be in Albany. They'll be going there. It's a very interesting time. And all of a sudden, this saga come to an end, and they have earmarked a date in November to have the debut show in MSG. Crazy. Just like that. Unbelievable. Wow.